Help keep Kinks and Beats Daily ad-free and receive bonus content early with a contribution of 20 cents per episode. Visit herohabit.com/shop for more information. Welcome to Kinks and Beats Daily. I am your host, Tony Fry. This is episode 100. Ladies and gentlemen, 100 episodes. I thank you all for listening, for starters. If there weren't people listening, I wouldn't continue doing it. And the positive feedback has been great. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it, and I hope you will continue to enjoy it because we have a little over 1,400 more episodes still to record, which means at the current rate of release, that's over 5 years worth of podcasts on a daily basis we've got to get through before we run out of songs. And that assumes that there's no new material coming out in those 5 years, which we all know is very unlikely. So I thank you for joining us. 100 episodes is crazy. I can't believe we've done it. I mean, we premiered mid-October. Here it is, February 27th, and we're at 100 episodes. And that's awesome. Thank you to everybody who contributed to our $4 a month subscription. You should have received this week the copy of our discussion about Preservation Act 1, and then you will be receiving an early access to the Mars Picks episode as well. So if you'd like to hear those podcast episodes early and help us keep the lights on, you can swing by herohabit.com and contribute $4 a month, just 20 cents an episode. Okay, so today on our 100th episode, we are covering Till There Was You, which is a cover song. And I don't think we've done any cover songs to this point. I forgot to look before I recorded, but I think this is our first cover song. And it's actually kind of an important cover because it's very different for this band. And it's different for any band of the era, really. The song was released November 22nd, 1963 on their second album with the Beatles. And this second album came out 8 months to the day after their first album, Please Please Me. And to give you a hint at what this band was doing in 1963, Please Please Me, their first album, was still number one on the charts when they began recording with the Beatles 4 months after it was released. So it spent 4 months on the charts and was still number one in the charts until With the Beatles came and knocked it off. So a year to the day after their first 8 months to the day after their first album is released, their second album knocks the first one off of the top spot on the charts. It's an incredible chart run. Recording for the album began July 18th, 1963, in sessions completely devoted to covers. Along with Till There Was You, where they did 3 takes of Till There Was You, the band also recorded You Really Got a Hold on Me, Money, and The Devil in Her Heart. You Really Got a Hold on Me, maybe, in my opinion, their best cover of any song. And then a couple weeks later, on July 30th, takes 4 through 8 were recorded. They did a whole complete remake of the track. So the first 4 takes, they didn't like the style they were going with, so they started from scratch. They did a few more takes at the end of the month, and take 8 was the one that we hear on the recording. So this is a strange cover because the band was introduced to it through another cover. Peggy Lee recorded a cover version of it. But it actually comes from the Broadway musical The Music Man, written by Meredith Willson. And The Music Man premiered in New York in 1957. Huge hit, won the Tony for Best Musical that year. It made it to West End in England in 1961, and then was adapted into a film in 1963. So by the time the Beatles recorded this, they were probably aware of the musical, but they weren't aware of it when they added it to their live set and all that. They were doing a Peggy Lee cover. And McCartney says that he was very conscious of bands that were popular taking obscure songs and putting their own slant on them and making an arrangement of their own for it. And so songs like this or Besame Mucho, which were in their live repertoire, were conscious efforts to take an obscure song and make it their own. And with Till There Was You, they've got like this quasi bossa nova beat. Ringo's playing bongos instead of his drum set. John and George are on acoustic guitars, like nylon guitars. So they were going for a very specific vibe and feel. And it's very different than the lush orchestrated version that we hear on The Music Man. Meredith Willson's widow claims that the royalties from the Beatles recording of this song earned the estate more money than the original run of the play. I'm sure over all the Broadway revivals and a couple movie remakes that it's at least evened out, but I'd be willing to bet that between CD reissues and remasters of this album, plus other instances that this song appears on, like Anthology, the Beatles' royalty on this song is still a pretty big portion of the Wilson estate. So musically, there's a lot going on in this song, and I just want to highlight that I think this is one of George's best guitar solos, especially of the early era, because it marks a mature guitar sound that we really don't see from any other band at this time. Most bands, Beatles included, were really focused on more of a blues-based pentatonic guitar solo, because that's what their heroes were doing. That's Chuck Berry and Little Richard and Fats Domino and Buddy Holly. Those guys were doing not necessarily blues songs, but blues inspired. The technique came from blues and country music. And George Harrison's guitar work has always had a mix of influences, whether it's country or blues or R&B, or in this case, jazz. So I want to highlight a couple things. First, I want to highlight McCartney turns in a fantastic vocal on this song. I think he's affecting an American accent, not very well, but like when he says, I never saw them, and then I never saw it at all. He really pronounces that T. I think he's going for, The Music Man is based in Indiana. Oh, now I'm blanking. I know there's a song about Indiana, but I think it's based in Indiana. And so I think he's trying to affect that kind of styling. But the chords, very, very beautiful chord progressions. Leading into the guitar solo. F chord, F sharp diminished. And you hear John on that F sharp diminished, he keeps inverting it, which is a pretty... That's just taking the bottom note, moving it to the top. So now the second note is the bottom. And then taking that note, moving it to the top. So now the third note's on the bottom. And that's all you're doing there. It's still the same chord. You're just spelling the notes in a different order. And the diminished chord in particular on guitar works out because that shape just slides up every few frets, up a minor third. So we got F, F sharp diminished, G minor, B flat minor 7. Whoops, that wasn't a B flat minor 7. There you go. And then here is the chord. So you've got George, he's basically just doing scales. Whoops. And then he climbs up the diminished chord. So that little lick there, that's the F sharp diminished chord. He's just playing an arpeggio. And then he does some triple stops. Whoops. Then he does some rakes, which are beautifully done. So he does a rake as a 16th note triplet up on the just across the fret. But then he spells out these chords: G minor 7, and then and then a G flat 7. What is that? The book lists it as a minus 10, minus 5, but this is the chord. That chord is not in any rock song you've ever heard. And it's beautiful. Coming off that G minor and then resolving to the F. And then the F is not enough because we've got to go back to B flat. So he does an F7. But where most players would just do the F7, he throws in a flat 9. And it's just beautiful. And these are sophisticated chords. They're not chords from the Chuck Berry songbook. And George is playing on this. The inflections he does, the raking, the alternating between like just a lead line to triple stops to arpeggiating the chords. It's all beautiful stuff. And incredibly sophisticated for a guy that at this point is 20 years old, and a rock and roll guitar player. So really listen to this song and focus on George's guitar playing because it's unreal. And people that say that he got better as the Beatles went on as a guitar player, which is true. I think they all improved as instrumentalists as they got older, which hopefully we all do. But people that say that to dismiss some of his earlier stuff are ignorant, because the solo in this song, for being a throwaway cover song that they just were busting out to get on the album, the solo is incredible, very sophisticated and smart and brilliantly played. So that's Till There Was You. If you would like to talk about a song on this podcast, give me a call, 925-494-1739. And you can chat about a song we've already covered. There have been 100 of them. Or you can call and talk about a song we haven't covered from the band or solo catalogs of the Beatles and the Kinks. Because like I said, we have about 4,000 more to go. So again, 925-494-1739. You can email me, kinksandbeats@herohabit.com. Or you can join our community at Hero Habit and join the Kinks and Beats group and talk there. It has been very quiet there. I've been doing a bad job promoting it. So I would encourage you all to go and get in on the ground floor of a new community that is just focused on things you like. There's no political ads. There's none of that. We're just talking about, in that group, just the Kinks and the Beatles, and in general, just about sports and pop culture and stuff like that. Just the fun stuff. You need a break. You need a diversion. And I promise we're going to keep the fan police at bay, because this is supposed to be a fun place for all of us. So swing by Hero Habit and let's get that community going. All right. I will talk to you tomorrow for episode 101. I guess we don't have any milestones for a while. And again, for $4 a month, you get early access to bonus content for this podcast. You will get it whether you send money or not. But the people that are contributing, helping keep this podcast ad-free, they get early access. So if you'd like to get access to our album-length episodes and special bonuses that we have planned, swing by herohabit.com, and in the shop page, you can find a Kinks and Beats contribution subscription for $4 a month. All right, that's enough out of me. Have a great day. Thanks for sticking with us for 100 episodes. Here's to the next 100 and the next 1,000 and the next 4,000 after that. Bye. This podcast is presented by the Hero Habit Podcast Network. Swing by herohabit.com today to comment on this episode and poke around our growing database of sports and pop culture news, reviews, and collectibles. herohabit.com. Collect your heroes.